because of the who the Jews are in different world powers and political class, and those influence are what we refer to as the Jewish lobby in America and in different parts of the world. So, for how much of the Shams region, the Middle East, will they give to these people, these Zionist movements, for the Middle East to have rest? Or is it that they are going to be there to take over the entire Middle East, while the West they hold on to their ways and take all the Jews and in every part of the world, bring them back to the promised land they belong? For how much? How long will they kill?
Okay, a big question. So there is this book, more like a conspiracy anyways, that is written Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It was said it is one of the protocols that were set, I think, prior to the 19th century or the 20th century. So, and within that protocol was the Greater Israel. And the Greater Israel extends from where the state of Israel is today up to some parts in Syria, some parts in Lebanon, and as far as some other parts in Saudi Arabia. On the claims that, yes, they existed in Medina before Prophet Muhammad expelled them when they break the treaty and the likes like that. So it's a conspiracy. We don't have the fact about it. But with the way things are unfolding and the way they are continuing to take more lands, we can see, yes, the conspiracy seems to be like, yes, perhaps it is true, which is more likely to be. You get to, because today they are expanding on Syria, they are expanding obviously on Palestine and West Bank and Gaza, and they are expanding on Lebanon. So we don't see anything that says otherwise to this, and they are doing it actively. It's not a 10 years project, it's like a 100 years project. They understand that, yes, in 100 years time they will be able to achieve whatever they are achieving, perhaps 200, but they will just need to be patient about it. So it's a gradual process which they have started, because you can imagine something that happened in 1948 and still today it's still happening. You get to, this is 75 years, and it's like the resolve is getting stronger by the day, because they have every means more than they used to have before now. So yes, we don't know, maybe after they get as much land that makes them as big as other states, and yes, and be formidable enough, yes, maybe that is when they will say, yes, it's good to stop now.
So can we say with the Zionist history, and if they finally got what they want, wouldn't they later be a threat to the West, who is their major finance supporter, backbone, and financier in terms of world power, in terms of world economy? Because now it's like they are controlling the world economy in disguise. A lot of edifice companies, a lot of people don't know they are owned by the Jew, say the Jew, and not until recently when the issue of boycotting or not boycotting came on board, and people started enlisting the companies that you need to boycott for you to be able to support the freedom of the people of Palestinians, for you to be able to save life of children in Palestine, for you to be able to make sure that the human rights of every race and citizen really matters on earth. We establishment of the state of Israel, acquiring all that to themselves, not give them the more power now than the so-called Americans and everything that is supporting them.
If the state of Israel, as small as it is today, is posing this much threat, obviously the world will be in grave danger more than it is today if they can achieve such. Because what that means is this: Israel today, and especially on the largest part of it that contains the settlements, all these settlements are Europeans and Americans returning back to Israel. Successful Europeans, successful Americans returning back to Israel on the claims of their ancestral land to set up there. So by the time every one of them, if they get the Greater Israel, we pray that doesn't happen. If they get the Greater Israel, then it means all those 2% Jews and all their businesses, their $1 trillion valuation businesses all over the world, will move back to Israel. Then the command and control center, in quotes, will be from where? From Israel. It won't be from proxy again, because as it is today, because Israel is so small, is still working with the alliance of the US.
Yes.
So Israel, the state of Israel is seen as the 51st state of America. But by the time they are big enough and able to amass enough army and be able to amass enough weapons and things like that, the obvious thing is that, yeah, they'll begin to control the world directly, because they now have everything they require. Perhaps some Israelis will still be there, but yes, perhaps they will be having dual citizenship, and yes, then do the control from
So it's the current world powers, the red Americans, the Indian Americans who truly say they own the land, and the Germans too. Are they truly ready for what they are supporting? Because it's like, they think they are letting go, they are giving them what they want, and have they really thought it through to what will be the impact?
For them, it might not pose a lot of challenge, because the whole ideology and the whole freedom thing aligns. So, like, some people would find it okay with whatever America is doing because of the benefit they can get from America. So it might not be, but just like America is one controlling a whole part of a whole lot of Europe in terms of security, which was made apparent by Donald Trump when he was making claims about he can't be the one protecting Europe from Russia. You get? So, but they still find it okay to stay with America because their ideology aligns. You get? It aligns. So, but in a case whereby there is a difference of ideology, that is when the problem comes. So, if the powerhouse shift from any other place in Europe or America to Israel, if it's still the same idea, there might not be too much problem, but there could be some form of imposition different from how it used to be. But yes, they can actually cope. The only people that will find it difficult to cope are those who do not align with the ideology. But yes, they will try to move the powers to the greater Israel.
So now, coming back to the war in Palestine, is it not going to get to a point whereby the Palestinians and the Americans and the West, see it as, for how long, or when will they stop the killing of the people of Palestine, of people of Gaza? Because now, it's obvious now. It's looking like Hamas are no longer on ground to fight back, or maybe it's the media that is, not giving us that part of the situation in Gaza. It looks like anybody is actually fighting back, and they kept on killing and pushing and killing and pushing. So when exactly will they stop? Or are they not, writing another history of the world? Do they think that the children of Gaza of today, some who have escaped into, Egypt, or who are even in the West currently, will they leave not to come back and say, okay, after 50, 40 years of their life, and say, no, we used to be here, it's time to get back? Just the way the same Jews think that they want to come and claim a land. Is they not thinking in that direction? It's like, when you forcefully chase them out, you are creating a radical from them. Are they not going to come back and do the same thing?
Yeah, like we might have pointed to that earlier. The Israel you find in the Middle East today is a Western project that started perhaps after the Balfour Declaration in the early 20th century. So, and which was established in 1948. So, whatever you are seeing today, and the reason for which they are getting all the full support from the West, is because they are actually a project of the West. Yes. They were planted there by the British and Americans. So if they have planted them there for the ultimate mission, it is on them to give them all the ultimate support to be able to actualize that. So, and one of those things, like you mentioned earlier, that led to this particular war confrontation between Israel and Iran, besides the fact that the Iran is one of the only survival line left for the resistance in Palestine is that they want to present Israel as the only superior power in the Middle East. So that is the more reason why it's a concern that Iran is trying to get ballistic missiles. Iran is trying to enrich uranium and be independent in terms of energy. They understand this kind of independence gives power, so which they want to ensure, just like they're able to bring down Saddam Hussein, they should be able to bring down Iran as well. So the goal actually was that maybe the attack that happened about 2 weeks ago against Iran was to cause a destabilization in Iran, then cause a regime change, then topple the government, then balkanize the whole Iran or change the government to a Western oriented kind of government that will do to their dealings. And you have Iran acting like the likes of Iraq and the other Middle Eastern countries after they were able to destroy their leadership. They were seen as adversaries. You get to that is it too. Israel is a Western project, and it is on them to finance their project for as long as it takes to keep their project alive.
So in this case, I'm trying to understand the last President Trump visit to the Middle East, where he visited Saudi Arabia and Qatar, was Gaza not part of the end of the Gaza killing, not part of the negotiation on important issue with the crown prince in Saudi and the Qatari emir?
Okay, that is actually one of the most unfortunate realization of that meeting, because nothing was mentioned regarding
About Gaza.
the issue of Gaza. So everything was about expanding trade and increasing investment from the Middle East in the US, which Trump was successful to have actualized over $1 trillion investment, Arab investment in the US,
At the expense of the
including
killings of their
yes,
home.
including a gift of a private jet that could stand in place of Air Force One.
So the palace in
About
air.
yes, what to the tune of about 400 million US dollars, which was gifted by the Emir of Qatar to the US president. So nothing was mentioned about Gaza because that was not the topic, and everybody acted along. Nobody there raised it. I don't know, maybe it's part of the strategy of diplomacy that when you know you cannot beat somebody, and you just try as much as possible to entice the person with things the person needs. Perhaps that is the strategy being used by some of these Arab countries. And yes, thereafter the gift of 400 million years now. Maybe behind back door, it might have been mentioned that, okay, can you at least ensure we have a ceasefire with regarding Gaza? But officially, nothing was mentioned to that
So
regard.
with the fear of Qatar losing its milk environment to war, and that of the Saudi, who have enjoyed so much even in their Wahhabiyya ideology, that they don't even want to get in confrontation with anybody. They just want to be there enjoying their money and living and so the new unfold of the Iranian strength displayed to the world now, will that put a signal of a redirection to the Middle East leaders, that maybe when they come together in the Middle East, they can actually form a formidable force to be able to have their own life, do their things, they are also, able to protect Gaza without the fear of external forces like Iran and like Israel and American. Because I can see this whole thing is all about fear or not being able to face or tackle them. They are now accepting.
Yeah, the one of the biggest undoing of the Middle East is when they started giving them the nationalism ideology, whereby every country sees um, themselves as their nationality, not as a homogeneous people living together, and yes, and should be allied. So the Saudi sees first Saudi Arabia, maybe perhaps the leadership. The UAE sees first United Arab Emirates. Qatari sees first Qatar. So nobody is trying to fight in the interest of others.
The Arabs.
yet of others, yes, a larger part of it, Arab and Muslims. So the case now is that with what has happened recently unfold with the confrontation between Israel and Iran and the unprovoked manner with which Israel actualized that should have sent a red signal to the Arab leaders that if Israel could have such effrontery to make such an attack, then none of them is safe. Because it only takes Israel not being happy with whatever you are doing to become great. Then they set the pretext and they launch an attack. You get? So as a matter of fact, and I think that is actually showing up because from recent times, the Saudi Arabia led by Bin Salman is trying to make some efforts to realign their partnership in the world globally. Unfortunately, the depth with which the Arab countries have gone in partnership with the West is so deep that to undo them, it will take years. And if they choose to do it as a rapid turnaround, it could actually backfire. Take for example Qatar. Qatar is so small that the whole population of Qatar is less than 1 million. If you see the head count in Qatar going to millions and something, it is the expatriates working there. So they don't even have enough human resources as much as they would need to do local things in their country. So that's why they are inviting so much foreigners, expatriates. So and now the only way Qatar, because even Qatar is not safe staying in the midst of his own neighbors, the likes of UAE and Saudi Arabia. So the only thing that guarantees their safety is the US military base in Qatar. So because there is no way they can be so good militarily that 800 a population of 800,000 will be able to face a population of say 10 million, 90 million, 50 million. You get? So that is the only thing. UAE on the other hand, or let's say Saudi Arabia on the other hand, has its own security contracted to the US. Their fighter jets, their military, everything, their partnership with the US is so strong in terms of military that if they should undo it, they fear that they could be exposed to extremists, however that may sound, extremists, good, that will take advantage of the insecurity after a US has left. They are packed with them and it will make them porous. One of those things could also be the protection of the monarchy too, because
I think that is what was important to Saudis.
Exactly, the protection of the monarchy too. The monarchy, the leadership system they run, it protects. So the US protects it. So if any dissident wants to raise any issue against this thing, if it is not being projected by the Western media, then it doesn't have so much of a traction. But if the West goes against them and they begin to give the PR to the dissidents, then it becomes a concern, and yeah, it could cause internal unrest that could lead to like what we were seeing in the early in the 2000, some years back, 2012 downward, when we had the Arab Spring, whereby there were revolts in Arab countries. So this is one of those things that the West is helping them to protect. So they've been neck deep into alliance with the Western world and not so much dissident that the only thing that is keeping them is the alliance with the West as they understand it.